Welcome to another edition of the Defo Show with Lubie right here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. No Defo, just Lubie today. And yes, the tournament has tipped off. We had lots of upset. Number 2 already went down. Kentucky goes down to St. Peter's. At least 5 major upsets yesterday. That was the biggest one. Have a whole slate of action. 16 games going on today. And of free agency, the biggest news was Davante Adams, not exactly a free agent, will be a part of the Las Vegas Raiders, will be traded from the Packers for picks to the Raiders, and then we'll get a massive deal. The word is Aaron Rodgers didn't know this. He was aware that Davante Adams wanted out and was not going to sign a long-term deal with the Packers, and he's still happy signing with the Packers, Aaron Rodgers. And Davante Adams is going to play with his former quarterback, Derek Carr, in college. They both played for Fresno State. And I guess Adams just bought a home in Vegas, so he wanted to be there. And now the AFC West, which is already crazy, is even crazier. The NBA still rolls on. The Miami Heat continue to be the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. The Lakers and Nets still seem to get all the attention for some reason. And yes, you have a lot going on in MLB free agency as well, and Major League Baseball starts in like less than a month. But my attention today was turned to the Dolphins free agency. And so far I've been very complimentary because they've signed guys that fit Mike McDaniel's system. So it feels like either they're ex-San Francisco guys, Mike McDaniel, or they're players that fit what he's trying to do from what he said, Mike McDaniel. So it feels like the moves so far have screamed Mike McDaniel. Well, word came out yesterday from Chris Grier, some things that he had said in Indianapolis, and people are focusing in on it, that Chris Grier, the Dolphins' still GM, and no one understands why, because he's not been good at the job, thinks the Dolphins have talent at the offensive line. They just need to play better, meaning the coaches didn't do a really good job, and these coaches will do a better job, which sounds totally ridiculous. Look, again, the Dolphins do have issues on the offensive line, and it's not all talent. A lot of it was coaching, but they need tackles. So today, on the Defo Show with Lubie, no Defo, just Lubie, I talked a little bit about my frustration with the Dolphins not signing a tackle yet, and the guys like Lyle Collins and Terron Armstead that seem really good choices for the Dolphins, both like the Dolphins, seem like the Dolphins like them. The fact the Dolphins haven't made a move on either of them yet is a little frustrating, and I talk more about it here. The Defo Show with Lubie on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Leslie Visser's favorite game is the Defo Do You Remember, when he throws things at me that I should remember from the 1950s. When I don't even know if he was alive in the 1950s, let alone I definitely wasn't alive, and it's definitely not a reference point that really resounds with me at all. So Leslie loves when people like, you remember Jaime Manouche? And it's like, no, Defo, I don't remember Jaime Manouche. I think that's one of the greatest sports names ever. I don't know him, but I do know that reference. Good Morning Vietnam. This is not, well, maybe Vietnam. Hopefully you're listening, wherever you're watching. We appreciate it here, the Defo Show. No Defo. He is in Atlantic City. I have not gotten a report. I did get various texts from him, so he was able to communicate. So he must not have been flat broke, so that's a win. He took in all the action, and there was a lot of action yesterday. You had a number 2 seed go down, St. Peter's, and on Mike Mayo's lunchbox, something Defo does every day, and I'll fill in whenever Defo's not there. You can check it locally on WWNN, also on the Odyssey app. Mayo went down all the games using what he does here. He picks games a lot of the times via who has the better food. He's the gambling gourmet. He'll join me at 8:35, and he talks all things food and sports. He was a sports writer. He was a news writer, and then a food critic. And now he runs Let's Eat South Florida, one of the bigger, I know it's one of the bigger groups on Facebook, but it's a pretty big group, over 75,000 members on Facebook. Let's see, South Florida. Mike Mayo's the man behind it. So he comes on every week and talks food, talks sports. And when there's games to pick, he picks it via where would he rather eat the food from. So he went down all 16 games, and he actually picked that upset. He picked St. Peter's over Kentucky based on the fact that St. Peter's is in Jersey. And Kentucky may have good food outside of burgoo, which we mock. They may have good barbecue. We don't know. I don't really, outside of whiskey, I don't know what the hell's in Kentucky. But St. Peter's has great Italian. It's Jersey. I mean, Jersey has great food. So he went with St. Peter's, and he got that right, which is pretty impressive. Lots of upsets yesterday. You had Michigan, which was an 11 seed. Look, Michigan actually wasn't good. Juwan Howard punched a Wisconsin assistant. He got suspended, but they weren't good. At that point, they were not a tournament team. They were like bubble. and they didn't play better after that. He came back the beginning of the Big Ten tournament. They lost early in the Big Ten tournament and finished the year 17-14. They should not have been in the tournament. So, of course, they win their first game over a 6-seed Colorado State. We're down by double digits in the first half, and then came out in the second half and pummeled Colorado State, and they won going away. You had that St. Peter's win over Kentucky. Kentucky, a number 2 seed, going down in overtime to St. Peter's. That was a great game. Richmond, a 12 seed, knocked off the 5 seed Iowa, of course, like Blake Chadwick talked about yesterday. You always have a couple, if not, at least one, if not a couple, 12 over 5s. New Mexico State took out UConn, and it was a really cool day of action in the tournament. Yes, I'm referring to March Madness, which officially tipped off yesterday at 12:15. Again, more action today at 12:15. We'll talk loads about that as the professor. He will have his world-famous, his hilarious top 5. At about 7:45 today, he'll join me. I don't know when he'll do the top 5. But he'll do his top 5, his big board, which is hysterical. And he loves to push the envelope. Today, he definitely will push the envelope. So he'll have his top 5, but he'll also have college basketball. He'll also have college basketball plays. So we'll have the professor to join us, talk a little college basketball, talk the tournament. Also, Mark Lawrence, world-famous handicapper, and I think he was 2-0 last week between college basketball and NBA. He'll talk about college basketball plays, I presume, for today, along with the professor. But he'll also talk a little NBA. He'll have plays for you. It's Denver Friday. Hello, we got to have plays. So we'll have Mark Lawrence. We'll have the professor, and we'll have the Gambling Gourmet, and he'll probably give some racing tips, and he'll probably pick a few of the games today based on food. Worked well for it. I think he was like 60% yesterday. So he did pretty well picking the matchups based on food. You have Devontae, like Defo likes to say, a lot going on in the world of sports. Devontae Adams, Aaron Rodgers re-signs with the Packers, right? So, of course, Devontae Adams is staying. No. Devontae Adams works out an amazing deal. He's still a Packer in essence. So he works out an amazing deal to go to the Raiders. An insane deal. I think he'll be the highest paid receiver by a decent amount in the league. He will be now traded from the Packers to the Raiders. And the scuttlebutt all over the social world was, well, is Aaron Rodgers going to still stay there? Like, is Aaron Rodgers happy with this? Supposedly Aaron Rodgers knew. He had talked to Adams. Adams like, look, I'm not playing here anymore. I'm done with this. I want somewhere new. I want somewhere fresh. And Rodgers still decided to sign. I mean, he's getting $200 million over 4 years. And I think $150 million of it's guaranteed. So he's good. He's happy there. I don't know what the hell the Packers will be. I mean, Devontae Adams wasn't their entire receiving core, but many have him as a top 3 receiver in the league, if not the best receiver in the league. They definitely, Valdez-Scantling is not that. Who knows what Rodgers will have there, but the AFC West gets stronger. You had the Raiders go and get Chandler Jones, one of the best pass rushers in the game, from the Cardinals. They already had a pretty good defense. They already had a pretty good offense. They now give Derek Carr another weapon, and you sort of have to do that, as the Chargers last week went and got Khalil Mack to add to. It's funny, the defense had talent. The problem is they have injuries. Derwin James is always hurt, and Joey Bosa's hurt a lot. So that defense was really bad last year, but it shouldn't have been. They had talent. Well, now they add Khalil Mack to go on the other side of Joey Bosa, which is freaking scary. You're going to bring in J.C. Jackson, one of the better corners in the league, to pair him with Asante Samuel, who was a rookie and was a second-round pick that took the league by storm, ended up being one of the best defensive backs in all of football last year. You pair him with J.C. Jackson, who is 1, 2, or 3 as a cornerback in the NFL. Derwin James is, by all accounts, I think the best safety in the league when he's out there. Now you have a Chargers defense that's stiff. The AFC West is fucking scary. Like, we've talked about this with a few people, but, like, Kansas City Chiefs are the standard, right? They either are going to win or in the Super Bowl. And last year, they took the Bengals lightly. Bengals came back. They got Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, they went with a safe defense that Patrick Mahomes should have torched. Patrick Mahomes played one of his worst halves ever. I mean, he did not play well in the second half for Cincinnati Bengals in the AFC Championship game. And the Chiefs fell, but a lot of people still presume the Chiefs are the class of that division. But the Broncos go and add Russell Wilson to a team that had a nice young defense, a nice young running game, nice young receiving core. You just needed a quarterback. The Raiders, a lot of people are like, well, the Raiders will be the 4th team. They were in the playoffs, but they'll be a 4th team. Will they? Like, I feel like it's 1A, 1B, 1C. Like, they're all, that division is insane right now. Like, any of those teams could win the division. Any of those teams could make the playoffs. Any of those teams could miss. Because a lot of people are like, well, that division's all going to the playoffs. That's not true. They're all going to play each other. So where in some of the other divisions you get gimmies like the Jaguars or whatever, there's no gimmies in that division. Every week is going to be a freaking war. So the NFL keeps ticking. You have the NBA going on. I talked a little bit about this yesterday, but I do find it funny that I get it. Look, the NBA hit a new level in the 80s. No one really knew the NBA. The NBA was around for a while by the 80s, but it wasn't popular. It was almost going to go bankrupt. And you had Larry Bird, Magic Johnson come in as stars, had their battle in college, and they took that throughout the 80s between the Boston Celtics, heralded franchise, Lakers heralded franchise, and it took the NBA to a new level because they were stars. And the NBA, David Stern realized you need to promote stars. You need to bring the stars up, stand behind the stars, and push them out there. So that took the NBA to another level. Right now, look, the NBA has stars, and the stars are what drive the league. The problem is the biggest star is still LeBron James, and his team sucks. He probably second biggest star, or top 5 star, second best player, Kevin Durant. His team sucks. So they keep talking about the Lakers nationally. They keep talking about the Nets nationally, but both teams suck. Like, the teams that are really good, the Suns and the Heat, are boring. They don't fight with each other. They've had injury issues to their players. They just keep winning. Both are leading each conference and have for most of the year. They haven't, whenever they've struggled, they found a way. Neither really get talked about. I mean, Devin Booker is a star, but he's a good dude. He doesn't fight. He doesn't bitch and moan. He follows all the protocols. He does all the right things. So why would we talk about him? And the Miami Heat are very similar too. Like, Jimmy Butler was disgruntled until he got to Miami, and now you don't hear anything bad about Jimmy Butler. Tyler Hero was sort of a spoiled brat until this year. Now he's probably the best 6-man in the league. Bam Adebayo's always been lunch pail guy. Now he's even good offensively, and he should be the defensive player of the year. He doesn't. Most people have never heard Bam Adebayo speak. So Kyle Lowry's always been, heart and hustle plus talent guy. Oladipo, he doesn't. He sings. He's a great singer, but no one like it's made up. It's a team full of guys that go out there, get their job done. PJ Tucker's a little rough, but he's not a stud. And he's not a jerk off either. The two best teams right now, record wise, in their conferences are two teams no one gives a shit about because there's no sizzle. So that's sort of what's weird with the NBA right now is, and it's funny because they have young stars, Luka, Trae Young, you have Jason Tatum, I'm in big markets, Jokic. Denver's actually a pretty big market. People think of Denver as a stupid market. Denver's like a top 10 market. Like, Jokic is the reigning MVP. Probably he'll win it again. Embiid's having a good year. Jokic is just not. Jokic is the weirdest combination of abilities with whatever the fuck he looks like. He's big. He's fat. He's lost weight, but he still looks like he's fat. Like, he doesn't have any musculature at all. He can't move. He can't jump. But the dude from a basketball IQ and a basketball level of play is unmatched right now. Like, he's like Luka, but at 7'2". Like, it's insane. So these are stars that should carry the league, but none of them have like personality. Like, Giannis does, but Giannis, his level of play actually has gotten sort of boring. He either dunks it and he plays defense. He doesn't shoot threes with regularity. His ball handling's okay. His passing ability's okay, but his personality with like Luka's play is what LeBron was. Like, that's why LeBron stole the show, because LeBron was amazingly fun to watch, and he had no problem talking. He'd go out there, he'd say shit. Yeah, the shut up and dribble stuff, but you know what? It got headlines. It got attention. That's what Magic did. It's what Jordan didn't talk. Jordan's play was so fucking insane on such a different level that he didn't have to talk. And that's sort of what LeBron did that too, and Steph did that. Steph has never been a talker, but what Steph Curry did was revolutionize the game so much that it brought attention and brought eyeballs to the league. That sort of hurt the NBA. There's no, team to love or hate. There's parity, and the stars they have are, good guys. There's no Iverson, who doesn't give a shit. The league is full of stars, but they're all kids that do the right thing. They don't fight. They don't start shit. They don't start trouble, which is a good thing, but it doesn't bring eyeballs. So sort of the NBA is in this weird position right now where it's the NFL offseason, and when a move like Devontae Adams happens, it's way bigger than whatever happened on the court in the NBA. Which, the NBA offseason's always been interesting the last decade or so. It still doesn't shine from the NFL games. NFL games in September are a bigger deal than the NBA offseason. That's not the case. The NFL offseason is a bigger deal than the NBA games, which is freaking weird. But that's going on as I ramble about that. This is the Defo Show, of course, here on Ion Channel. I am Mike Lubie. Defo is in Atlantic City. He is alive and well. I don't know if he's still flush, but he's alive and well. We will talk a lot of tournament, as the professor will have not only plays, but he'll have his big board. He'll do the whole thing. We'll have Mark Lawrence, championship-winning handicapper. I think he was 2-0 last week between NBA games and college basketball men's conference tournaments. And we will also have the Gambling Gourmet. He will, I guess, break down games based on food. That's what he did yesterday on his lunchbox, and I think he did it pretty well. And he's done with us for now, I guess, 2 years. I mean, Mike Mayo's been with us a few years now. He'll break down a matchup depending on what food he'd rather have from either city. Like St. Peter's versus Kentucky. Yesterday, he picked that upset, the number 2 seed, going down in overtime. Well, St. Peter's is in Jersey. Like Jersey. Most of us would rather the food that we find in Jersey over Kentucky. Again, I don't know what they have in Kentucky. If they have good Southern food, that'd be great. I love soul food. If they have good barbecue, they probably do. It's probably not just burgoo. But when you think food, Jersey has great Italian, and I'm sure Jersey's very New York, so you get everything. And most of us, like me, from South Florida, would rather that over whatever the hell you get in Kentucky that we don't understand. So Mayo went with St. Peter's, and he was right. St. Peter's won. So I'm sure he'll do a little bit of that when he joins me here at about 8:35. Also want to talk about NFL free agency. Davante Adams will be joining the Raiders via trade from the Packers. We are out of South Florida. We have a lot of South Florida listeners, watchers. I know we get people from all over, so we bridge it out to all topics nationally. However, I do want to bitch for a little bit about the Dolphins, as Mike McDaniel's come in, and he's the antithesis of Flores. Well, Flores was really meticulous with defense. He had a system, and as much as you hate the Patriots, can't stand the Patriots, it's what they do. They don't put big-name guys on their defense anymore. What they do is they grab guys, put them in a role, accentuate that role, and have them just excel at that role, and it has made their defense the last few years, if not it's an elite defense, it's a good defense. And guys like Gilmore, who had struggled, had a good year with the Bills, but became elite with the Patriots. J.C. Jackson, a guy who was undrafted, no one ever heard of, is now a top 3 corner in the league. Like, they take guys who have talent and people aren't sure of, and they find a place and they use them. Flores was good with that with the Dolphins. Look, the Dolphins defense, outside of Xavier Howard, who again, Xavier Howard was a second-round pick from Baylor. He was this big guy. He had some injury issues. So it's not like any of their names that have excelled. Jalen Phillips was a first-round pick, and Wilkins were first-round picks, mid-first-round picks. Okay, so they are stars. They should be good. But the rest of it, Agba was sort of an issue. He had been good but been bad before he came to Miami. Like, Jerome Baker was like a second or third round pick. I mean, Javon Holland, yeah, a lot of people thought he could be good, but he was a second round pick and he hadn't played. He had tapped out because of COVID at Oregon. So, like, their defense isn't full of huge names. It was a bunch of guys that had skill sets that Flores was good at accentuating. He was smart to flip the script last year and go back to an aggressive style of defense, blitzing the crap out of quarterbacks, not giving them time, and trusting Byron Jones, who was big money, but he wasn't a top 5 corner. Like, he just got a lot of money. Like, that's what Flores did, and he did that good job with that on defense. He just sucked on offense. His coaches he hired were horrendous. They were dumb. Like, it was just bad moves. They weren't good, and he didn't put systems in, or whoever his coaches were, to accentuate the players he had. He would go and get players and put them out there, and it just was a disaster. Then they draft Tua. He keeps Fitzpatrick to breathe down Tua's neck. He never fully gets behind Tua. All of his moves between coaches and players did not accentuate Tua's abilities. Like, it just made no sense. So what Flores did on defense, he didn't do on offense. Well, Mike McDaniel, the offensive coaching hire, is doing the opposite. I don't know what. He really kept the defensive staff intact because he realized the defense worked, and if Boyer was highly involved, then you just keep what's working. But on offense, he's now bringing in a system, and he's trying to bring players who will work with that system. Not the biggest name, not the biggest price tag, not the best player, quote unquote, but the best player for the system, which is what the coaches that win do. So that's a great thing. And so far, their free agency has been solid. Like, they haven't gone and gotten the huge names yet. But Raheem Mostert broke playoff records under Mike McDaniel in San Francisco. Good signing. Edmonds was like top 10 in yards per carry, top 10 yards after contact. All the things you want from a running back in this kind of a scheme. Good signing. The Connor Williams with Dallas was a top 11 guard. Okay, when your guards last year were in the 20s and 30s, that's a step up. And none of these guys got insane money. So they still have a lot of cap room, and they have room to get rid of guys like Jesse Davis to fill out the roster even better. The only issue I have, and it feels like it's not a Mike McDaniel issue, it's a Chris Grier issue, which anyone who's listened to us the last 2 years, it might be longer, because when Tannenbaum was kicked out, finally, of Miami, Grier should have gone with him. Grier was with Tannenbaum. He was a Tannenbaum guy, and even before, and for some reason they kept Grier. They elevated Grier to GM, and then things didn't get better. Grier traded everyone away, started from scratch, got 30 picks, and had one pretty good draft. That's it. Everyone's like, well, the 2021 draft. It was, first of all, 3 guys. It was Tua, or was that the 2020 draft? It might have been Tua. Okay. So the 2020 draft, and people still, I like Tua. Most people don't. 2021 was, you had Phillips, you had Javon Holland, and then there was a third guy that they got that people like. Okay, wonderful. So they got, but still they had like 7 or 8 picks, so that's still below like 40%. So for one, they've had like 30-something picks over the last 3 years because they loaded up on picks, and they got 3 good players that you can count on for sure, and the rest we don't know. I mean, Grier's done a horrible job, so Grier should have been gone many times over. And when Flores was fired, which I didn't mind, because, again, he only focused on one side of the ball, and we're in an era where the offense is more important than defense, not less. So I didn't mind Flores being gone. All that's happened after is freaking circus, because it's the Dolphins with Stephen Ross. But they bring in an offensive guy, and then you keep Grier. And Grier's proven himself with free agency to be a disaster. Whatever trades have not worked. And his drafts haven't been good. He's had one pretty good draft, and the rest of them have sucked. So to keep Grier made no sense. But the move they've made so far seems very McDaniel. Like, okay, the young guy knows what he wants to do. He's been successful at it. He obviously was highly involved with Kyle Shanahan in game planning. And he's bringing that to the Dolphins, and he's bringing in players to work with it, which the Dolphins haven't had. It looks like a plan. Cool. But they need offensive line help. Look, we've talked with a few people. We talked with Jimmy Johnson last year at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill of Key Largo, and we're hoping in the next, I think, couple weeks to get back down there. And Jimmy was very honest. He said, look, outside of the head coach, the second most important coach is your offensive line coach. And we're like, really? He's like, yep. He's like, because talent matters at offensive line, but look at the guys we had in Dallas. Not everyone, most of them weren't first-round picks. He's like, we had and their offensive line coach is a legend. He was with me forever. I never let him go because he could take average guys and make them great. A good offensive line coach, and that's what the Patriots did. Patriots never had big-name offensive linemen. Their guy, Scarnecchia, was with Belichick forever. He let every coach go. He never let Scarnecchia go because that guy was able to make gold out of shit, lemonade out of lemons. So that's a huge thing. The offensive line coach does matter. It's a big deal. Jimmy Johnson said it himself, and we respect his opinion, obviously. So the Dolphins' talent may have been okay. The offensive line coaches were an issue. Like Brian Flores had like 4 or 5 of them. I think he had 2 or 3 last year alone. So obviously the offensive line coach is an issue. But the talent's not good either. Like, come on. Like, the Dolphins have obviously failed in the draft to draft offensive linemen. So the idea is go out in free agency, get guys that you know are good already. Mike McDaniels hired an offensive line coach that had a lot of success at Boston College. So a lot of people are behind that hire. Cool. And pair real talent with a real coach. No. Chris Grier, the piece of work, comes out yesterday point blank saying, and people have been waiting for the Dolphins to sign one of the bigger named offensive linemen, either trade for Lyle Collins, who just got released by the Cowboys. So sign Lyle Collins, a right tackle, again, like I talked about yesterday, which is the guy the anchor for a left-handed quarterback, or go and get Terron Armstead, the probably best free agent of the entire class from New Orleans. He'll cost you money, but he's a legit offensive lineman, a stud, one of the best tackles in the game, which is what you need. The Dolphins haven't had real offensive linemen since Marino was here. Literally, Richard Webb and Keith Sims in the middle of the 90s was the last time they had a real offensive line. That's a long time. And they've put money and time and picks into the offensive line. We've talked about this with Dave Hyde a lot, and still failed. So if you have a chance to go get legit free agent, not some stopgap guy, do it. Well, Chris Grier comes out yesterday and says, well, we believe in the guys we've drafted. Duh, he drafted them, and he's still here, so he's trying to, hammer it home that he did a good job, which obviously he didn't. We still believe in the guys we have. They need to be coached. We hope they will grow. Stop fucking hoping and wishing. Like Defo, we always play this song, wishing and hoping and hoping and wishing for the Dolphins, because that's what it is. Every year you're hoping and wishing. Literally, that sentence alone screams Chris Grier. Like, screams a guy that has no clue what he's doing. He's clearly has no clue what he's doing. And the moves we've liked so far are Mike McDaniel's. Like, they're not like the moves Grier would make. They are sound. They're logical. They work. Nothing Grier has done has been sound, logical, or worked. So, obviously, it's Mike McDaniel. And finally, Grier needs to step up. It's free agency, going and spending big. That's not the coach. That's the GM. And Grier opens his mouth, making it clear we know it's his decision, and then sounds like a dumbass. The fact that, again, we've talked about Chris Grier must have pictures. He must have, fucking crazy pictures for Stephen Ross to keep him through how many coaches he's been here supposedly over 15 years. So how many coaches have come and gone, and he stayed? We've now had multiple GMs come and go, and he stayed. And he's not good. People around the league like him, but, when he's gotten into a position of power, it's not gotten better. The things he's supposedly openly admitting he's focusing on have not gotten better. So, I do not understand for a second how he still has a job, but we talked about that. Fine, he's there for this year at least. What I don't understand is how a grown-ass adult doesn't learn a lesson. You drafted these guys, they're not working. Fine, you like the offensive line coach. Cool. Don't get rid of everyone. No one's saying start from scratch. But, dude, if you have a chance to get a premier tackle, and he's out there, and there's been discussions that Armstead and Collins both like the Dolphins, and you have cap space, and you've cleared the cap space for this, what the hell are you saving the money for? What? This is when you do it, when you have a rookie quarterback that is on a young quarterback on a rookie contract. Look what the Chargers are doing. Look what the Bengals are doing. Look what the Chiefs have done in the past. Look at what all the Raiders, look what all these teams do. Look what the Bills have done. Now, Allen's not a big deal, but before, they surrounded him to get to that next level, because once they get that big deal, it's hard to surround them with talent. Ask Russell Wilson. Seattle started falling off when Wilson got paid. So the hope is Tua's the guy, right? Okay, well, if he becomes the guy, he's going to get paid a lot of money. So you're not going to be able to pay all these dollars to these guys. Get him now. So I don't know what the hell. Look, and it's pretty, again, clear. I've been very open and honest about my feelings for Chris Grier, because I didn't know the guy, but I've watched his track record. Come on. It's now years of a track record. And it's always it wasn't me, it was that guy. It was first Tannenbaum. Okay, fine. Then it was, Flores had a big part of it. Okay, but then why were you there? If Flores is making the decisions, Mike McDaniel's clearly highly involved in these decisions. He's bringing in every guy from San Francisco he can. That's not Grier. Okay, then what is Grier doing? Why have a guy who's just a name at a position? I don't understand, and I will never understand. Stephen Ross obviously has issues as an owner. We see he's now, what other owner has been alleged to offer money directly for losing? Owners, we've seen teams like the Colts go real hard after tanking, real hard, getting a guy who's been out of the league in Kerry Collins and one of the worst backups ever in Curtis Painter to be your quarterbacks. We're really sucking for luck, but you never heard the owner's voice ever attached to that, let alone ideas that he may have actually paid to lose. Stephen Ross, you got that. Every year there's new circus crap around the Dolphins under Stephen Ross, and we've seen that with his hires and with his lack of fires. When he fires guys, it's always too late, and then he always leaves guys lingering because of look, it's so funny. It's such a weird thing that in life, all we want is loyalty, especially at our employment. You never get loyalty. Everyone says, look, they'd get rid of you in a heartbeat. Everyone knows that at their job. But for some reason, Stephen Ross is loyal. So it should be commendable. Should be admirable. Problem is, it doesn't lead to success. Loyalty in the working place may breed success because it gives confidence to people. Loyalty in sports, it just allows people who suck to keep their job. And it's weird for a guy who's been so successful in his entire business life to be so horrible as an owner and so clueless. So there's my rant for the day about the Dolphins. If you're a Dolphin fan, you definitely are feeling what I'm feeling because I'm seeing it in spades all over social media. If you're not a Dolphin fan, you probably feel it. Like the Bengals finally are trying. But how long did the Bengals go without trying? The Rams finally have gone all out the last 5 years. But how long were the Rams? The Cardinals finally, when they drafted Murray, went all in. But how long were the Cardinals? How many fan bases have dealt with a franchise that's like, do they care? Are they trying? Like, the Dolphins have become that. They weren't that. My whole life, the Dolphins always were a contender. In the last 20 years, it's been like, I mean, we see them spending money, but where's it going? So I think even if you're not a Dolphin fan, you can feel my pain and frustration. This is the Defo Show with Lubie. No Defo, but you do have Lubie. Once again, this has been the Defo Show with Lubie right here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. We turn our attention to day 2 of round 1 of the NCAA Tournament today. More of the NBA action going on. NFL free agency over the weekend as well. All going on all weekend, and we'll talk more about it Monday, or I'll talk more about it Monday. No Defo again, but you'll have more of me focusing on South Florida. But yes, what has my ire is the Miami Dolphins and their lack of tackle signing. I get it. Connor Williams was a good guard signing. Scream like Mike McDaniel. All the things they've done so far scream like Mike McDaniel. Going out, spending a lot of money is the GM's job. And it seems like Chris Grier, the GM, is showing what we've known him to be. Person that sucks at their job. Lyle Collins will cost money, but he'll also cover to his blind side. Turn Arnold, same thing. He's a tackle. You need tackles to win in this league. You need a good offensive line to win in this league. And Chris Grier, time and time again, comes up short, whether it's free agency, trades, draft. Horrible. Right now, you have big-name guys that are proven to be good at their job. You just got a good offensive line coach. Put them together. Win, right? No. Chris Grier, we like what we have. Yeah, of course you like what we have. You drafted them. You want to prove that they know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing. You don't know what they're doing. And Chris Grier continues to just be clueless and confusing as a Dolphin fan. So we'll probably talk a lot more about him and how bad he is at his job into the future. Hopefully you have a great weekend and check back with what we do each and every day on Ion Channel, live 7 to 9, Monday through Friday. Just Google the Defo Show, DEFO. Also, our exclusive content, national, more content, interviews, discussion on Believe.com, the Believe Network. Just search After Hours. And, of course, right here, each and every day with our South Florida content on 5 Reasons Sports Network. For the absent Defo, I am Mike Lubitz. Talk to you Monday. Have a great weekend for the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Recently, we realized it's not just hurricane season that can hurt us. Any time of year, things can happen to your home or business. And the insurance company can be your friend, but they also can be your enemy. Horizon Public Adjusters, Justina Testa, are here for you to help this process go so much easier. Before you call the insurance company, call Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa at 954-809-8752. Would you go into court without an attorney? So why would you go up against an insurance company without Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa? 7 to 10 times more money recovered with a public adjuster than if you went on your own. If there's no recovery, there's no fee. Give them a call at 954-809-8752. Why go up against insurance companies alone when you can have Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa on your side?
Play the ponies in style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.